Hello, I hope y'all are doing well. Let me get this set up. Okay, we are going to go over persuasive speaking today, okay? All right, so values of persuasion beyond this class. Hopefully I don't need to go over this, but just in case you are wondering, we are constantly trying to persuade people, whether it's asking for a raise, getting parents to let you move out, even little things like trying to persuade your partner to go where you want to go for lunch or dinner that day. Okay. And not for nothing, besides just getting your way, the more awareness that we have in regards to persuasive speaking, the better we can be at critically evaluating the constant aims of persuasion we are hit with every day. Okay. So persuasion beyond just you having to give a persuasive speech is incredibly important, and we are absolutely inundated with it all the time. All right, so persuasion is a communication process of converting, modifying, or maintaining the attitudes and or behavior of others, okay? So I want y'all to keep in mind maintaining is part of it, right? Sometimes people are already doing something and it's just a matter of giving them the motivation to continue to do what they're already doing, okay? So some things that I want to note about persuasion is it's different than coercion. Coercion is by force. Persuasion occurs when someone has a choice in the matter of whether they change, implement that behavior, that thought, whatever, okay? So it is different than coercion. If someone came to you and put a gun to your head and said, give me your wallet, that's not persuasion, okay? Ethics matter. So we talked about ethics, but just a reminder with ethics, think of, do the ends justify the means? Does it matter how you met your sales goal as long as you met your sales goal? Yes. Okay. And it's a process between the speaker and the listener. Okay. So what that means is kind of, what I said, it's different than coercion. The listener has the right to choose whether they are persuaded or not. So it really is a process. And then the last one that I really want y'all to know and to keep in mind past your exams, past this class, is that the impact is usually gradual. Okay. And the reason I think that's good to know is because it helps you going into a situation where you are trying to persuade someone. Yes, it's possible that we hear something and we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going to change, that makes so much sense. Okay, I'm going to change my behavior. Here we go. But a lot of times the impact is gradual, so it might take time, okay? All right, so inconsistency in attitudes and behaviors, we're going to go through this kind of quick. So why there's inconsistency in what we believe, but then what we actually implement and do in our lives. Direct experience is one of them. So if it directly affects us, that can impact, yes, in theory, something means a lot to us, but it's another thing to say that we do something about it. Social pressure. I know that sounds like we're all in middle school and trying to fit in, but as I've said before, our need for inclusion as human beings is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Okay. So social pressure can play a big role in how people react to things. And then the effort required, right? I mean, you might not think about that, but it takes a lot to change your behavior, maybe. It takes a lot to implement a new step and to go get extra, I don't know, to take, even to recycle, which is something that's like, well, duh, everyone should. It still takes effort. So don't negate the effort that it takes. That's why, a lot of people are trying to impact how people can vote and trying to go to like nursing homes to allow them to vote right there, because it takes a lot of effort and people might not be able to do that. All right. So I know most of y'all have probably heard of Aristotle. If you haven't, you're going to hear about this again in your English composition classes. But we are going to talk about this still, even if you know what it is, because it does have a specific role it plays in public speaking. So to go over these really quick, and then we're going to break them down one by one. Ethos is your credibility, and then that also includes the perceived personal character of the speaker. Logos includes logical appeals, and then pathos or pathos, I think it's pathos, but sometimes I say pathos, don't judge me, includes emotional appeals. So let's start with ethos, okay? Ethos, there's initial credibility, derived credibility, and terminal credibility. So initial credibility is what you initially go into the speaking setting with. So that includes titles, positions, experiences, achievements, stuff like that. Okay, stuff that you go into that speaking situation with. Derived credibility is derived from your presentation. So how do we gain credibility throughout our presentation? By, as it says, speaking dynamically, providing sound evidence, and organization of your speech. Okay? Terminal credibility is a combination of initial and derived credibility. Okay? So your terminal credibility can actually be less than your initial and derived credibility. And where that can happen, so when we say less, it's not that, oh, you get your position revoked or something like that, but rather people have less of a high opinion of you after the fact. So where that can happen is if you are looking forward to a speaker that's like a really good researcher in a field, and they just blow it. They don't know the information that they need to know. They're not prepared. They are just reading from a manuscript. That might, in turn, result in them not having high terminal credibility. Okay? All right. So ways to enhance credibility. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on the time. Ways to enhance credibility is appeal to listeners' emotions without being too dramatic. Avoid reasoning fallacies. Use ethical and effective supporting materials. State your qualifications for giving the speech, aka your credibility statement, and show the audience that you are interested in the topic. Okay? I went through those kind of quick because they kind of go with, we'll talk about some of them a little bit more. All right. Logos, propositions of fact, value, and policy. Those are different, okay? So think about, a proposition of fact is just, this is a fact, here's what it is. Value is what is the value in that situation or in that, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. And then proposition of policy. So here's how the policy is. Here is the law. How is that effective? Okay. We're going to talk about supporting materials, so we're going to go over logos a lot more in another chapter. Arguments, quantity versus quality. You want both. Effective evidence, so statistics versus narratives. Again, we're going to do an entire chapter over supporting material. And then avoid logical fallacies. In the next chapter after this, over making arguments, we're going to go over logical fallacies. If you know what logical fallacies are, they are a lot of fun. I love logical fallacies. All right. Now, pathos, or pathos, whatever. So the thing that I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about emotion is there are a lot of different emotions that you can evoke. So I feel like when we, as a society, say like, oh, they got emotional, what does that mean? It means that they cried, right? They shed some tears. There's other emotions. And I'm not saying that to be condescending. I know we know that on a conscious level. But when I say that I want you to include pathos in your speech, that doesn't mean that I want you to make us cry. You can evoke a lot of different emotions. So keep that in mind. Okay? So emotional appeal is kind of an all-ranging appeal. Fear appeal. So you can make them feel the problem by making them afraid of something. We're seeing that a lot with the coronavirus right now, with the fear appeal of, you could get sick, you could die, you could hurt others, blah, blah, blah. So that can actually be really powerful. Fear can be a very powerful mode to get people to change their behavior or implement a behavior. Anger appeal, you could appeal someone by saying like, doesn't it make you mad that you worked this hard and blah, blah, blah. So they're motivated because they're angry about a situation and they want it to change because it's not fair, it's not just, whatever. And then positive appeal. I know that's not as dramatic as the other ones, but don't negate the fact that a positive appeal can be really good. You know, you could say, don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to wake up and truly feel proud of who you are, or, you know, whatever. Okay. I'm not going to go over motivating with dissonance. It's not on your exam, so you don't need to worry about it as much. And just for time's sake, I'll keep this lecture a little bit shorter. All right. More on pathos. Find a way to touch or reach your audience on an emotional level. So use vivid and descriptive language. Okay. So instead of saying like, oh, the cat was hurt, you could say the cat was mauled and so malnourished that you could see its rib cage from just by looking at it, or, you know, something like that. Use emotional evidence. So for example, stories, personal testimony. Use vivid visual aids. That can be really powerful. And you want to be careful. So sometimes it's okay to kind of shock your audience, I guess, but you want to be careful with just going for shock value. So be mindful of using very graphic, like crime scene photos or something like that, because that can have the opposite effect that you might want. And then use a dramatic nonverbal delivery. When it says that, and when I say that, be interested in your topic, but this isn't a one-act play. Okay, this isn't the drama club, this isn't theater, and I'm not making fun of that. I did the musicals when I was in high school. But when I say use a dramatic nonverbal delivery, I'm not saying to overdo it. This isn't your time to get up on a stage. Okay? All right. Appeal to the audience members' needs. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is fascinating. And basically the bottom are the most, I don't want to say most important, but like fundamentally the most important. Before we have to get those needs met in order to move up. Okay. So the physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, self-esteem needs, self-actualization needs. Again, this won't be on your final exam, but still applying them to the needs of your audience could be really effective for you. Adapting. Oh, you know what? The last thing I'm going to say is you want to keep this in mind. So let's say you work for, just in the future, let's say you work for ADT or like a company. You would for sure want to go towards those safety needs of, you know, don't you want your family to feel safe? You know, here's how to do it. Okay. And then finally, adapting your message to your audience. So based on your audience analysis, you want to determine if your audience is receptive, neutral, or unreceptive. So we kind of talked about this a little bit when we went over audience analysis, but just a reminder, if they're receptive, it means they're open to, or I mean, not we talked about this, but this is going to sound familiar is what I'm saying. They're receptive, they're open to hearing what you have to say, to maybe changing their behavior. Maybe they want a better way to do something, but they didn't know how to go about that. Neutral is kind of, I mean, y'all know what neutral means. They're like, maybe, maybe not. And then unreceptive. They are not open to it. They are not happy about it. They don't want to change their behavior. They don't want someone coming in and telling them what they should and shouldn't do. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. Why do these matter? Obviously, just like anything else, it's going to affect the way that you approach your message. Okay. I feel like I went super fast. I hope I didn't. But I'm trying to keep these relatively short because then I have to do 2 videos if I reach 15 minutes. So sorry if I went too fast. If you need to rewind, you can. Yeah, but that is it for the persuasive speaking chapter. Yay!